Coming up next, an interview with William Fogg, the author of House on Fire, The Fight to Eradicate Smallpox. Welcome back to the Elon News Network. Tonight we have a special guest from the public health field, an inspirational revolutionary that aims to eradicate smallpox.
In his book, House on Fire, William Fogg tells his personal story about how smallpox, which affected millions of people throughout human history, was finally eradicated in Africa and India. Encountering several challenges along the way, Fogg was tasked with implementing interventions in multiple countries when eradication seemed impossible. He reveals his reasons behind success, sharing a global objective and the conception, implementation, and management of a clear plan tailored to smallpox in terms of context, range, and susceptibility.
Fogg notes, the coordinated action of a group of dedicated people can plan for and bring about a better future. The fact of smallpox eradication remains a constant reminder that we should settle for nothing less.
This book would help policymakers, foundations, and non-governmental services, as well as professionals in global health. They must work together to confront the shared global risks of infectious diseases.
Now over to Ashton for an interview with the man himself.
William, thank you for being here with us today. There were several moments in your book that really stood out. First, the moment in the eastern region of Nigeria when political tensions were rising. Can you tell us more about this experience?
Yeah, so essentially I was in eastern Nigeria in the 1960s, and the tensions were really high due to the fact that a lot of the resources that were needed to eradicate smallpox were being prevented from the people in eastern Nigeria. So what I realized was that there was a serious problem there, and there needed to be very logical tools used to help this. So practicing cultural humility, making sure that I was doing no harm in the work that I intended to do, and just making sure that I was working with the people in order to help get those tools.
That makes complete sense. Cultural humility is hard to have, especially for public health workers traveling globally. Were there any times that you felt doubted in your efforts in Nigeria?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was there in 1960s, but I also returned again in 1967, and there was a particular mission where we had a jet full of the supplies necessary, and it was very elaborate. We had to distract the security guards and make sure that everything was going according to plan in order to actually get those tools and supplies to the people that they needed. And it was honestly so scary. I really was doubting myself. And it was just really an added pressure to deal with the Nigerian government. And it was a time that I really did doubt what I was doing, but I know that in the end it was the right thing to do.
Personally, I would have been terrified, but that really shows the differences in local, state, and federal health agencies. Local health agencies are units led by local governments pertaining to one community. State health agencies are responsible for screening for diseases and conditions, treatments for diseases, technical assistance and training, laboratory services, epidemiology, and surveillance. These are more common in the United States. Finally, federal health agencies ensure all levels of government have the capabilities to provide essential public health services, act when health threats may span more than one state, a region, or the entire nation, and act where the solutions may be beyond the jurisdiction of individual states. How about that time in India where you gave the analogy about pouring water on a burning house? Could you elaborate more on that moment too?
Yes, so I feel like a lot of public health initiatives focus on preventative matters, and they go about things. The analogy that I made is that when there's a public health issue, it's like a house on fire. And a lot of times we go about it by pouring water on those houses surrounding it and hoping they don't catch fire. But by treating the problem at the roots, I took a different approach, and I basically wanted to pour water on that fire and then make sure that the houses around there also had the preventative measures in place.
Okay.
So oftentimes I feel like there might be a miscommunication of sorts, that in order to do public health work you can only focus on preventative measures and only doctors treat the actual issue. issue, but by understanding more about the issue and sort of pouring water on that fire, you can help to prevent as well.
Wow, that connects to something I learned in public health class about the primary, secondary, and tertiary intervention strategies. Pouring water on a burning house could be seen as both primary and tertiary intervention. Tertiary in the fact that the house is already burning, so you need to put the fire out, and the primary in fact that you are intervening before other houses could be affected. Thank you so much for coming today and sharing your experiences. It really enlightened us on your book and helped us really understand a lot more, since what we've been learning in public health kind of relates a lot back to your book. And we just really appreciate having you here today, and hopefully we'll have you back on show another time.
Thank you.
Now back to Robin and Emily.
How nice to hear about Fogg's work in the public health field.
After reading this book, there are many strengths. The material is fascinating, and we don't hear about it often. It also demonstrates various types of interventions, illustrating that some methods work better in certain situations. Finally, it shows some of the challenges faced by public health professionals globally.
At the same time, there were several weaknesses. The material was rather heavy and hard to get through at times. Additionally, unless one plans to enter the public health field, the material is not relatable to our everyday lives or what we see on a regular basis, making it hard to understand. At the same time, it takes some prior knowledge of the material to fully comprehend, thus lacking the ability to reach all audiences, which is necessary for spreading awareness.
In general, we still believe that this book should continue to be used in future classes, since it clearly applies the material we previously learned, giving a tangible example.
Public health.
It's complex.
Its context.
It's justice.